kind of dark. Okay, ladies. Hopefully this video isn't too dark. We'll see. We'll see how this works. Let's see if this works. I need y'all to let me know if you can hear me. And I'm going to go ahead and dive right into what I want to chat about today, because I want to talk a little bit about overwhelm. Yeah, I'm just not sure. The lighting is terrible. Isn't that cute? I don't know what to do about it. It's just bright outside. Okay, so, yeah, let's see. I don't know if it helps if I move. I'll try moving around, whatever. Anyway, I feel like a lot of ladies are talking about being overwhelmed in everything. Overwhelmed with grief, overwhelmed with life, overwhelmed with to-do lists, you know, all of the things. Thanks, Amy. I appreciate that. So, yeah, so I am actually sitting in my car. I'm multitasking, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to find time to make this video today, but my son just went in for a piano lesson. So I'm using this time to try and just get this message out to y'all, and hopefully the message will be good regardless of whether you can see me well or not. We're just gonna do it. So for those of you who are new to me, my name is Molly Howze. I'm the founder of HowzeYourHealth.com. I'm a health coach. I'm a grief mentor. I help coach women to take really good care of themselves, especially while grieving. That is my passion, is to help women to shift their beliefs about what life looks like while grieving, and how to take care of yourself, and how to find peace, how to reduce the pain and increase the peace, and reduce the sadness and increase the gratitude. This is the stuff that I'm passionate about. So I'm going to jump right in and talk a little bit about overwhelm. So obviously, well, I say obviously, it seems obvious to me. This is something that would be obvious, that it's common for us to feel overwhelmed, right? Because grief, it sucks all our energy. It takes all our attention away. It scrambles our brain. I mean, it just, you know, it just takes you down. And there's no getting around that, right? Excuse me. So I want to ask you if you'll share with me in the comments, when is it that you feel the most overwhelmed? Now, as a grieving woman, when is it that that grief or that overwhelm like seems to sucker punch you? What kind of situations? Let me know in the comments. And I'm going to give you a few that just right off the top of my head I came up with, because there's a lot of situations. But for me, if I get overly tired, then everything is overwhelming, right? If I go too many places in one day, if I, you know, overbook myself, overbook my appointments and schedule and things like that, that is completely overwhelming. If more than one person is asking me questions at the same time, I shut down. And that can be my husband and one of my kids. That could be one of my kids and getting like 3 Facebook messages at one time that I'm trying to respond to, or texts, or being on the phone, you know, with my mom, and then at the same time somebody else is asking me questions. Like, I can snap. If I haven't taken the time to write out a to-do list and prioritize, then I can get completely overwhelmed and just not do anything that day. The things that like my mind is constantly thinking, not just things like grocery lists and cleaning the house and, you know, all the mom things, but business things as well. All the different things that I'm trying to keep in order. If I'm not making lists and prioritizing, I'll just shut down, right? Does that sound familiar to any of y'all? I feel like I know that it does. There's no way that I just can't imagine why it wouldn't. So the first thing I want to say is, when we say that we are overwhelmed, we're giving our power away. Let me explain what I mean. If we walk around and say, I'm overwhelmed, there's a whole long list of things that we can say that we are, that is creating a belief, a limiting belief. So if you say I'm fat, if you say I'm overwhelmed. If you say, I'm whatever it is, you're giving your power away, because you are not fat. You have fat, but you're not fat. It doesn't define you. So you are not overwhelmed. You're feeling overwhelmed, but that's a feeling, and it's not you. It doesn't define you. Does that make sense? Let me know. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. So we're giving away our power when we claim something as our actual being, right? So I have a few questions that I want to run through whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, and then a few tips to try to break the cycle. And this is just a quick rundown. I mean, we could get far more extensive into this, but multitasking today. I don't have long before piano lesson will be over, and then we have to go. So first of all, when you're feeling overwhelmed, your best bet is to take a break. Whether it's a minute or 5 minutes, 2 hours, the rest of the day, shutting it all down, take a break and do anything that will clear your mind to help you get back to work and feeling more focused, feeling more relaxed. Give yourself permission to step back, because you're not going to get anywhere, and you're not going to get any more done when you're sitting there worrying about all the things that you're not getting done, right? When you're sitting there feeling like you can't get anything done, and so you're just spinning your wheels. So go take a walk, even if it's just a minute of deep breathing, or just a couple of minutes of deep breathing to get up and walk around your house. Just switch tasks, and then sit down and write a to-do list and prioritize it, right? So prioritizing things, it helps you see. For me personally, I like to see it on paper. I like to see a list of things that I need to do, and a list of, or so that I can put them in order of what needs to get done now, what needs to get done today, what can wait till tomorrow, and things I can delegate. Listing things from most important to least important, because if we do the little tasks, then the big tasks are the things that overwhelm us whenever we are putting them off until we've run out of time. So I love making lists. I love lists and lists of lists. And lists can help me figure out, and hopefully this is helpful for you too, can help me figure out what really matters. Because if I keep putting the same thing on a list, and then I start a new list and keep putting that same thing, just moving it from one list to another, it's very possible, and it never gets done, it's very possible that it's just something that I don't actually need to do, that I can actually just let it go. Or, who can I give it to and let them handle it and just release it, right? So it kind of helps you figure out what matters, instead of spinning your wheels about things that you can't control. Stop trying to do everything on your list. Maybe everything on the list isn't something that you actually even need to get done. Maybe it's not something, it's something that you can delegate to someone else. Or maybe it's not something that even matters. There's a lot of times that we put pressure on ourselves to do things that nobody else even cares about. Like, y'all, I don't dust my baseboards. I don't dust my ceiling fans. Like, hardly ever. It's not priority for me. And I know that people obsess about things like that, and it's okay. If it makes you feel good to do that, cool. But for me, it might get on the list, but it probably isn't going to get done unless somebody shows up at my house and says, hey, what can I do for you today? I would love to dust your baseboards. And then I would just be like, you're my best friend and I love you. So if y'all want to come dust my baseboards as an act of love for me, you are welcome to come over and do that. But there's oftentimes we put unnecessary work on our plates, and we are thinking that we need to get all these things done, and come to find out, so much of it is not actually even something that we need to worry about. So don't give yourself more work just because it seems like a great idea. I feel like as women, we tend to be overachievers. We tend to feel like we can do more. We're multitaskers anyway, usually by nature. And we feel like we can accomplish more than what we really should be trying to. And so before grief, you might have felt like Superwoman, and you, even if you were miserable, you were still getting stuff done, right? And now you've got this like you've come up against a brick wall, and you still feel the guilt, like you're supposed to be getting these things done, or people are still relying on you to get things done that you used to get done. I have lost some relationships because I have refused to continue to be that go-to person. It's hard, but you might have to do it for your sanity, right? So another question is, does it have to get done today? If today is a day that you're feeling so just completely overwhelmed, you haven't given yourself time to, evaluate and prioritize, is it something that has to be done today? Can it be put off till later? Whatever the task is that you're, or one of the tasks, or 10 of the tasks. Assign them to different days if you can. Look through your week and see, is there a time that I can actually do this and give it my best, instead of trying to get it all done today. And then, if you have time, you can do things that were on your list for another day, but you don't have to, right? You can free up time that you might then choose to get other tasks done, or you might choose to do something more like important, which I feel is like self-care. If it has to be done today, break it down into smaller steps if you can, and then just focus on the one step at a time, as opposed to the whole big project, so that you're not feeling rushed, so that you're not skipping steps, things like that. And then delegate. I've already mentioned this a little bit, but if you can delegate somebody else to do chores or make dinner or pick up the groceries or whatever, beyond delegating things like work-related things, just other general things. Because, like I said, as being a superwoman, I've always done everything because I was a stay-at-home mom, homeschool mom. It was sort of like, the husband goes out and makes the bacon, so I have to do literally everything else. Well, that's not the case. It's really not the case. It's just a matter of actually speaking our needs and being clear with our needs and delegating when we can. I'm a big believer in teaching the kids to do age-appropriate chores because it's a life skill. It's not me being lazy. It's me teaching them how to grow up and take care of themselves. And especially for my boys, I've always said that my boys were going to know how to do things so that they can be an equal partner in their marriages and in cooking and cleaning and taking care of children, because it's not just mom's job, regardless if she's a stay-at-home mom or not. Okay, it's a partnership. So delegate. So here's a question. Are you avoiding dealing with something deeper, so it's making every little thing feel like the end of the world? Anybody feel me on this? Does that sound familiar? I teach all the time. Like, this is my number one thing. My number one thing is shifting our beliefs, shifting our focus, really digging into our emotions and what they're trying to teach us. I teach this all the time. We can only heal if we are willing to sit with our feelings and dig into our emotions and figure out what they're trying to teach us. I feel like I keep having to move so you can see me. Otherwise, we're just spinning our wheels. We're just trying to put out all these little fires and completely ignoring like the volcano that's erupting. That was really good. I feel like I need to remember that. That was actually really good. I think that might be like an analogy I need to use for everything, because think about it. You're running around trying to put out all these little fires, but you're ignoring the volcano that's like swallowing the city, because you're ignoring your emotions. You're ignoring what the real issue is, right? The real reason you're feeling overwhelmed, the real reason you're exhausted, the real reason you're always at your wit's end is because you are refusing to deal with your grief. You're refusing to feel your feelings, right? And to really dig in. So we have to start there. We have to start in our mind. We have to be willing to ask the hard questions. And I mean, as grieving women, this is what we've been given. This has been given to us. We don't get a choice, right? It's not fair, but there it is. So it's our choice to deal with it or to not deal with it, to continue to say that we're overwhelmed and feel overwhelmed and just continue to spin our wheels, or to take those first steps to starting to feel better. So, just a handful of tips, because I don't want to overwhelm you with tons of to-do things, and also because this is, like I said, baby steps moving in the right direction. So begin planning ahead, starting where you are now. No guilt about all that you haven't gotten done. No guilt about feeling behind. There is no behind. There's no, I'm so far behind. There's no, I should be better by now. There's no, any of that. Let it go. Today, start fresh. None of that matters. None of that counts. Start now. When you're having a clear moment, that is when you can begin planning ahead. In those moments when you're completely not feeling it, you just can't think straight, that's not the time to sit down and try to sort out your life. That's definitely a time to journal and get that stuff out of your head that's swarming right now. But when you're having a clear moment, starting now, not yesterday, not thinking about shoulda, woulda, coulda, you're gonna have to let that go. That's our only path forward. So when you have that time to plan ahead, look at your routines and figure out where you can find better use of your time. I believe in lots of downtime. I believe in lots of quiet time. That is what I need. I'm an introvert by nature. Big crowds and big busy schedules, it can consume me, and it can drain me. It absolutely sucks all my energy out. So I believe in lots and lots of downtime, not overbooking ourselves, but using that time wisely. So I don't say, when I say spend, a couple of hours of downtime, I don't mean a couple of hours scrolling social media. I despise scrolling social media because it is a time suck. It just sucks your time away. And it leaves you feeling less than. It leaves you feeling jealous. Or it can leave you feeling scared out of your wits over all the drama and stuff, that the fear and all of the nonsense that's going on out there, the things that we can't even do anything about, yet now we're all running around feeling scared. So I do not believe whenever you're taking that time for yourself that is how you should be spending your time. Do what you want. This is not me telling you have to do it my way, so do what you want. But I am saying that when you do have downtime, that's not the wisest way to use it, right? Using a calendar or a planner, I am really not great at this, but I do have a couple of calendars out. I have the calendar on my phone. I have a planner book, and I always make sure that in all those places I have at least written down the big things, the big appointments, the big items are front and center, so that I don't overbook myself, so that I don't schedule giant things, more than one giant thing in one day, sometimes even 1 week. Sometimes if we've got something big coming up, I'm going to say no to everything else that week, because I need time to sort of talk myself into putting pants on, y'all. I mean, if you've spent any time with me, you know that I prefer to stay at home. I'm a homebody. I like it that way. I like to stay in my jammies or my yoga pants and hang out with my cats and my chickens, and not do a lot of socializing. So for me to have an event that I have to prepare for, I have to plan ahead. I have to prepare my brain to go into it. And then when you have something on the schedule, then you can work backwards. So I'm able to, if I need to go shopping or order something by a certain date because something's coming up, then it won't sneak up on me, right? So because I see it in big bold letters that on Friday, like this week, on Friday, there's a cookout that we're going to, a homeschool group cookout that we're going to. So before then, I have to make my list of the things that I need to buy and go ahead and buy them so that I can plan ahead, rather than me realizing Thursday night, I haven't been to the store, what am I making, right? So knowing what's coming, you can break it down into steps backwards. Does that make sense? A couple more things. So when you cook dinner, this is such a practical tip. I feel like it's something that everybody does, but maybe everybody doesn't. I learned at some point to cook extra. And my husband usually takes leftovers for dinner for work, but I always try to make extra so that the next day I don't have to cook, and so we eat twice. Or it's something I can put in the freezer, and then maybe next week, one of the days that either you know, we were running around a lot and I don't have the energy when I get home to cook, or the brain power to think of something to cook, I can just pull it out and thaw it and we can eat it again. So it's saving time because you're cooking once and eating at least twice. It also saves your pocketbook from eating out whenever you're trying to figure out what's for dinner, and your waistline from grabbing cheeseburgers and milkshakes because you're having a hard day, you don't know what you're going to cook, so you just go ahead and eat something like that instead of thinking, actually, I have leftovers at home, we'll just eat that. I hope that makes sense. And y'all know, if you've listened to me for a minute, you know what I'm going to say about self-care. Do not neglect your self-care. And that doesn't mean making spa days, pedicures, and things like that. It can, but you know I'm talking about taking care of yourself. Putting yourself last on the list is always going to end up in burnout. You're going to wind up in a puddle in the floor. Or maybe that's just me, but when I don't make the time to get the sleep that I need, and to start my morning slowly, to start with my meditation and my journaling and take care of me before dealing with any other human or animal, that starts me off in a much better space than starting from a place of people already need me and are demanding from me, and I've yet to even get my head on straight. So you know that is my biggest piece of advice, especially when it comes to feeling overwhelmed. And leave room for error. I think I kind of covered this a little bit already, but not filling your days with too many activities, especially if you know that you're going to feel overwhelmed trying to get to everywhere, trying to be everywhere, and trying to be everything to everyone. If you already know this about yourself, then there's a word. It just came to me and now it's gone. But that you can cut it off before it happens. If somebody can think of whatever the word is, you can read my mind. Go ahead and type in the comments whatever the word is I'm trying to think of. But it's like there's a word. It'll come to me later. Anyway, but stopping it before it happens because you already, left room, you left space so that you weren't like trying to get across town and you've got 5 minutes to get from one appointment to another and you know you can't make it across town in 5 minutes. So, when you feel yourself getting overwhelmed, it can be an opportunity to turn inward, to start asking really important and really hard questions. Like I've already said, the alternative is to continue to stay stuck, to continue to feel overwhelmed. If you're fighting the feelings, you're fighting the questions that pop up instead of making the time to sit with them. My favorite thing in the world is journaling it all out. Just get it out there. Just ugly journaling. I should probably like copyright that or something. Some sort of like ugly journaling there's got to be a thing, because it's just like ugly crying. Like you're just getting it all out. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to be legible. You're just getting it out, right? And it can be very cathartic, and you can discover some things. And then it can lead to more, I guess, constructive journaling, if that's your thing. So, I challenge you to spend some time reflecting on where you're feeling stuck, where you're feeling overwhelmed. And like I said, filling pages and pages of your journal just with whatever's coming out of your brain, it's very cathartic, and I feel like it's the first step. It seems weird, it seems cheesy, it almost seems too simple, but it's legit. So I think that's all I have for y'all. So let me know if this was helpful. If you're watching the replay, let me know and give me some love. Share with me some comments, places and things that you feel overwhelmed by. And if any of this resonates with you, or if you found this helpful, or if you have your own tips for ways that you have gotten yourself out of feeling overwhelmed that might help, you know, the rest of us. Some tips for the rest of us. I love being able to share with y'all. I'm so honored to be able to help y'all. I love working with my clients. Y'all are the ones that inspire me to keep going, to create this content for y'all, to work harder on myself so that I can show you how I've done it and maybe help you also along the way, because there's no reason for us to stay living in pain. There's no reason. We're not created for it. Right? We were created for love. We were created for joy and for peace, and we were created to be able to live fulfilling lives that honor God, and that we can honor each other, and that we can love each other and lift each other up rather than suffering and just being miserable. Like, that's not what we were created for. You know, we weren't put here to suffer. And so this is my passion, this is my purpose, is to take as many women as I can take with me on a path of healing. Because, like I said, my mentor Tom Zuba, he always says, when I heal, you heal, and when you heal, I heal, because we help each other in that way. So that's all I have for you today about Overwhelm, and I will be looking forward to seeing some comments and some any questions that y'all might have, and I'll hopefully come back sooner, but this is actually kind of cool for me to maybe I can plan that I'll go live when we have piano lessons, because nobody's bothering me right now while I'm sitting in the car, but I literally have like 5 minutes left before he's done, so I'm gonna hop off. Love y'all, chat soon.